Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Mates TV. So, Paul Joyce tweeted that Liverpool are prepared to activate the release clause of Jeremie Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen. We've seen him being linked last week into this week. He was linked earlier on in the season as well. We know he's had a terrific couple of seasons in particular. Obviously, the unbeaten, invincible season, League Cup double season for Xabi Alonso's team last year. But it looks like it's gathering a bit of pace. I was preparing a bigger video, but when Joyce goes, you've just got to go, haven't you? Fortunately, this did sort of form part of the bigger video, so I was half ready to talk about this anyway. But yeah, we'll drill down really now into the sort of reasonings behind this move. Let's slip into the mindset of Richard Hughes and Arne to try and come up with some ideas as to why they've made this move. And it, not because I think that it deserves to be over scrutinized by any sense, although clearly it's the internet, and quite clearly there are people who feel that they will need to truly understand it. But yeah, a fun psychological exercise, if nothing else. And first and foremost, and one of the things that I was preparing around him for the bigger video, which will come probably next week, when I was going to look at Liverpool's priorities and what those guys, Hughes and Slot, were looking to do this summer, and what was the sort of pecking order of things that were on top of their inboxes. So yeah, let's kick it off from there. Really, is that Liverpool are losing Trent Alexander-Arnold on a free transfer, so they need a right back. Duh, right? Kind of duh. Maybe not, totally and utterly duh, because there are a number of people in Liverpool's squad who can play at right back. But, if you were going to go into it cold and say, you're losing a right back, bringing a right back in makes a pretty reasonable basic level of sense, doesn't it? Yeah, it certainly makes that sense to me. So that's the most obvious sort of kicking off point for all of this, is that, yeah, we're losing our first choice right back. Now, Conor Bradley is more than capable of getting better and better and better as a footballer. He's put in some brilliant performances this season, some brilliant performances last season. But right now, if you said to me, we're going into a new campaign as champions looking to defend that crown and go better in Europe and domestic cups, with Conor Bradley as your one and only true, tried and tested right back, you've weakened the squad, haven't you? So it makes perfect sense to me anyway, going into the market and picking up someone. The thing that's interesting to kind of spin out from this is the age profile of Frimpong in particular. 24 years old. He shares a birthday with Chris Pajak, which is a funny little factoid if you know who that man is. You should do, because he's the hardest working man in YouTube, and also probably the best cartwheeler as well. Anyway, yeah, 24 years old. Connor is 21. He turns 22 in July, so we'll be 22 by the time the new season kicks off. His age makes it awkward as to buying someone else, because, yeah, what are you looking for? Are you looking for someone as a backup to Conor Bradley, or are you looking for someone to understudy him? Are you looking for someone, So what you would do, and look at what Liverpool had. They had Trent at 26 years old, the first choice, one of the best players in the world, and then you had this 20 and 21-year-old kid coming up on the rails who doesn't need to play and physically isn't ready to play 50, 60 games a season. So yeah, you've got a quite ideal balance there. Whereas the problem we had prior to that at right back was when Trent was sort of 22, 23, you had Nico Williams there, who was a couple of years younger, and he really needed to be playing games. And Trent was fully ready then to play loads of games, and it didn't quite mesh very well. This is an interesting balance, because they were quite close in age. Effectively, there's 2 years between the two of them. So it feels to me like competition is the order of service here, or maybe heavy rotation. We saw little hints of this, particularly with the Tsimikas-Robertson thing, where there was a point at the start of the season where Robertson was struggling post-Euros with fitness, recovering from injuries, and maybe just being at that stage of his career. And Slot was quite happy to rotate Tsimikas and Robertson on the regular. Is this what he's kind of got in mind for that? That is very much a possibility. Now it's time to head to the notebook. Oh yes. Experience, really interesting on this. Again, at 24 years old, really, really good profile to be bringing footballers in. We've had a great deal of success bringing lads in at like 22, 23, 24, because a lot of it is you're buying not finished products, but lads who have done all their learning, you know, have run through the basics. They've got the fundamentals covered, and they're ready to step up to be the best that they can be. They're heading into their prime years as a footballer. And the thing that Liverpool like is over 100 appearances of senior football, because you've got enough demonstrable evidence of them playing good footy to see how they sort of handle the general rigours of that, you know, fitness wise, form wise, psychologically, all that kind of stuff. He's got 241 senior appearances as a footballer, split between Bayer Leverkusen and Celtic. He's got 12 international caps with the Netherlands. He's played 33 times in the Europa League, 15 times in the Champions League, and he's got 133 of his senior appearances in the Bundesliga as well, which is obviously classed as one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So good, yeah, a really good, solid basis. And this is not like what I'm kind of driving at, as I know he will have come to, I guess, the wider footballing community's attention last year. Certainly that was the case with me. It's not like we're buying a flash in the pan. Liverpool have got access to plenty of data on him because he's played football that's comparable to football that, you know, where you can. Ian Graham talked about this in his book about how do you rate footballers, how do you compare them with what you've already got. It really helps when they're playing in competitions that are considered broadly in line with the ones that you're already playing in. So the Bundesliga stuff is very important. In addition to that, obviously he's a winner as well, having lifted the Bundesliga title. He's won the league with Celtic as well, which people feel free to mock that, if you will.
This is great banter.
But it is experience of winning a league title. He's won more silverware there. Obviously won the cup with Bayern as well. That's another important thing. You're coming into a squad now who've won the league. You've got lads who are still in that squad who've won everything, absolutely everything. And I just think it helps in terms of a pecking order. You know, he's going to have great stories from that Bayer team of being coached by Xabi Alonso, of having one of the most famous seasons in modern football, but also he's got the medals to dangle as well if he really wants to. If he wants to come in and swing his medals around,
if you get hit, it's your own fault,
you know, then cool, that will help, because obviously dressing rooms, changing rooms can be quite cutthroat at times, and I think that's really good. Personality is another thing. Now, I've seen Celtic fans talk about this, how much they absolutely just loved him. They just thought he was such a sort of live wire. Saw a little clip of him doing the rounds before.
We go, Jeremy, we're live. You've decided to perch on me, which is fair enough.
Sorry about the smell. It's the beer.
Okay, so there's a lot of beer in your hair.
The coach drenched me.
Yeah.
Edmund Tapsoba drenched me, and he's looking for me again. Okay. That's why I'm here.
So you've not come for an interview. You've come to hide.
Exactly.
I mean, it ties into personality, ties into culture a little bit as well, because obviously he can hold his own. He's a good talker. He's got a fantastic grasp of English as much as he's Dutch, which again will help him settle in terms of the culture. You know, the skipper, Cody, Ryan Gravenberch, and of course the manager play a huge part in that, of course. But he was trained by Manchester City and of course played north of the border in Scotland. The point is that there's no massive hurdles like that to overcome that there have been for some footballers that Liverpool have brought in. Darwin Núñez being a great example of that, where, you know, you're speaking the language of football. Perhaps he never quite learned the word for offside, but that's not going to be an issue for Jeremie Frimpong. So yeah, that's another one of those things that gets overlooked sometimes when people look at skill sets and what they deliver on the pitch. Actually, they've got to fit into the dressing room. So being a winner and having a connection with a bunch of the squad already, but also, yeah, being effectively a fluent speaker of the language, that's going to go a long way to help him as well. Let's do the biggest one. Let's put our, you know, FSG hats on here. Price, €35 million release clause being reported, so that puts it around just under the £30 million mark, depending on how well the pound's doing at any given moment. Cool. Again, you're talking in the region of 30 million quid for someone with that experience. Yeah, good. That feels like a really, really sort of shrewd move, and it should help you, because there's obviously work to be done in other areas of the squad. When you're buying someone, because I don't think we're necessarily buying someone who is levels above Conor Bradley. And, like, you know, he may go on to be better in the fullness of his career. But Trent, again, is a world-class footballer, and Connor is effectively a trainee to world-class footballer. He might well reach that, but he's not that now. It feels like we're buying someone who's probably a bit further along in their career, but we're doing it. The price means it feels like kind of a no-brainer. Reportedly, going to Capology, he's on around 75,000-ish euros a week, so again around 70 odd grand, which means that he's not going to be coming in on huge money for Liverpool. You'd guess he'll come in around maybe around the 100 grand mark, maybe maybe up to 120, 130. I don't know, but he's certainly not coming in as, if you bought Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to cost us 350 grand a week, and he's probably on around 200. He was on around 200-ish. He'll be on around $250,000 a week, plus all the other stuff at Real Madrid. So if you're buying a player of that profile, that's the kind of wage they were coming in on, whereas it looks like we've got two right-backs in a reasonable sort of level of talent without breaking the bank, if that's the case. So, yeah, again, FSG will be made up of that, won't they? Whether that's them, I don't know. Well, there'll be an inevitable, penny pinching or whatever, but sometimes there's penny pinching and sometimes there's making shrewd moves in the market. We won't know until we see him play and see him do the business. You might have made that case when people were buying central midfielders for 100 million quid, when Enzo Fernandez was moving for 100 million, and Declan Rice was moving for 100 million, Caicedo was moving for in excess of 100 million, and we get Alexis McAllister for like 35 million. That's not penny pinching. That's a shrewd move. Whereas Endo might be considered penny pinching, but kind of whatever. We'll see. Skills, there's two that really stand out. Assists first and foremost. 15 assists, all comps, 48 appearances, which is a really, really good return when you consider Andy Robertson only got his first assist of the season at the weekend against Arsenal, and then Trent's assist rate has dropped off significantly. Now, so much of that is dependent on style of play. Of course, it feels like we've used our fullbacks in a much more traditional way this season than under Jurgen Klopp, where so much of the creativity came from those wide areas. And when you see stylistically, of course, you're talking about a guy who has been playing wing-back in the Bundesliga and effectively plays as a right winger. We talk about our fullback starting positions, and Trent plays very, very high. This guy's another row further forward. So I'd say that's encouraging that he has the ability to get those assists. I wouldn't say it all directly translates to an ability to do that next season for Liverpool, because again, Trent and Robertson have been absolute assist machines throughout their careers. And they don't appear to have lost necessarily those skill sets. Maybe Robertson's faded a touch, but yeah, will it fit in with our system? I don't know, but I'd rather have a player who can do it, and he can do it, and then maybe rein him in, than desperately need someone who doesn't possess that skill set to get those kind of numbers, if that makes sense. And the other big one that stands out for me, pace. Pace. The man has pace to burn, and Liverpool's squad does not. So yes, having more. Conor Bradley's got pace, and then that's what you want. I think if you're making a stylistic shift, because you've got to, because Trent's gone, because you can't replicate what Trent was doing, Conor Bradley's what we've got. I think he really likes the look of Conor. I think everyone does, because he's so good. But it says to me that what you want is, more pace in full-back areas. There's been talk of Kerkez over on the other side. We're desperately short in all areas of the pitch of more pace. So, getting someone in who's got wheels like this lad seems to me to make perfect sense. Let's do the cons. The biggest one I've seen in comment sections, or people tweeting about it, or replies to various Redmen videos and what have you, is about the defensive side of things. I've seen rival fans saying trading someone who can't defend for someone else who can't defend, or defends even worse, or blah, 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 blah. Look, that seems to be the one outstanding sort of critique of the style of player that he is. And of course, this goes back to this idea of how do you sort of compare it, because he's not playing right back. He's not playing like a traditional right back. He is playing far more like a right midfielder, wing back, right midfielder. He's a flying fullback at best, if you want to call him a right back. He does have versatility, of course. So he has played at right back, he has played at right wing back, right mid, right wing. He could do a job on, I'm sure, other side or right hand side of midfield if he really wanted to sort of, copy a bit of the pace that Szoboszlai brings to that side. But the pacing again is absolutely massive in that regard, and maybe that's one thing when we talk about the defensive side of things. If we're going to encourage our fullbacks to get up and attack, then actually having recovery pace makes a big old deal. And the one major counterpoint I have to that criticism, well, there's a couple really. Two things. I think we kind of get a little set sometimes on a footballer being what they are forever. Like we're buying these things and they're sort of frozen in amber. And they can't evolve. It's like you're digging up a fossil, and it all it is all it's ever been. Arne Slot can improve footballers. Let's make that perfectly clear. I think he improved Trent's defensive side massively last season. So there's certainly something in that. It's possible. Good coaches can coach footballers to become better footballers. But the other side of this is, we do this a lot, don't we, when we talk about fullbacks, about like fullbacks needing to be able to defend, and yet most of the guys that we consider to be the best fullbacks are often the ones who've got loads of pace or are super attacking and cause problems down the other end of the pitch. And the thing that's worth remembering about what Liverpool have got in their ranks already, Conor Bradley, but also Quansah's played at right back this season for bits. Gomez, fitness allowing, has played at right back as well for Liverpool. Even like Wataru Endo's gone in and covered there as well. James McConnell, I think, did a little bit at right back, very, very briefly indeed. The point I'm making with this, particularly with the Quansah and Gomez things, is I think if he wanted a defensive right back, I think we'd get one. I just think we'd go out and buy one, and I don't necessarily know who that would be. And maybe there's an argument, and someone might be able to point one out to me. Like, as Hakimi as an example, is he more of a complete option? Is he, really, really good defensively as well as offensively? He was the first one who came to mind. I don't really know where his development's been at. He didn't stand out to me in the PSG games that I watched us playing this season, but that doesn't really mean a great deal, to be honest, because I'm so biased towards Liverpool that everyone who takes the pitch against us is just a Blair in a different coloured kit in the way of my fellas. But yeah, maybe there's an answer that you want to get someone who does it all, and I think Conor Bradley has definitely got that. I think he's got the offensive sort of capabilities, but I think he's a really, really good defender as well. And I guess that point is, it goes back to the thing, what are we doing? Are we buying someone who is a nailed-on 50-game, 60-game a season starter here? I don't think we are. I think this is a nice halfway house, which means that if Conor Bradley just continues to improve, then Frimpong will be his understudy. Whereas if Frimpong improves his defensive side, well, the fact that he's got more experience and he's possibly a better attacking player, then he'll go above Conor. It feels very kind of win-win to me, this. Both have got loads of room for development. But whereas, as an example, where, you might, on the left-hand side, if you're buying an upgrade on Robertson and or Tsimikas, maybe you need to have someone who's better defensively and better offensively, more of a complete player. I don't really know, but it's an interesting sort of food for thought experiment on that. No one's making Liverpool go for this player. Liverpool have had ages to look over what they need for the squad and look around the market, and it appears that they've settled on Jeremie Frimpong, and the reasons are number of the reasons that I've listed there, and I've not even really delved into what he is like as a player on the pitch. I know he's very dribbly, he's very attack minded, he's very, very fast. Is he a right back? Time is going to tell on that. Is he being bought to be the first choice week in, week out starting right back for Liverpool? Maybe, but I do feel as though with this we've just got two really exciting, pacey, attacking fullbacks. And that feels like the kind of squad depth that you want to build if you don't just want to challenge to maintain the Premier League, but also challenge on more fronts as well. Yes, I'm excited by this. I think that would be a very, very exciting first step into the market. We've seen Florian Wirtz's links as well, which they don't feel quite as concrete. Now, by all accounts, there's definitely been some precursory conversations there, but this one definitely looks like it's got legs. They've all got legs until they haven't, of course. But yeah, what do you think? Let me know on Jeremie Frimpong in the comments section underneath. And listen, there's even a world where if Mohamed Salah he will go away for a month during December, during the busiest part of the season, and go to AFCON. That might be half the thinking with the versatility, is he'll get his games in rotation at right back, but also maybe a little bit of coverage for Salah, without then us having to have 6 forwards. We can have one guy who can do most of the jobs down the right-hand side, and that's maybe how you get depth, but without having loads of players that just aren't going to play at all on the books, which is kind of what we saw this season. So yeah, discuss anything I've mentioned in the comments. Do subscribe to the channel as well, that'd be much and greatly appreciated. And please, if you haven't done so already, grab tickets to our event at the Red Weekender. It is the 24th of May, the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool. Kelly Cates is now confirmed, Sky Sports host and future host of Match of the Day, alongside her dad Kenny Dalglish, brother Paul Dalglish, sister Lauren and mum Marina, the Dalglish family, playing Family Fortunes, hosted by Les Dennis, playing against us. Great music, great Liverpool songs, great vibes. There's going to be stalls and food and everything. It's a full-on Liverpool indoor festival. So head to theredweekender.com and pick up your tickets there. Nice one. Up the early transfer business, Reds.